What is up, fellas? We are back for another UFC predictions video. This time for UFC Fight Night, Tybura versus Spivac 2. Um, Coming off of two good cards, so you know we had to come crashing down to reality with some Apex slop. Let's get right into it, fellas. I'm looking forward to it. Let's jump right in. Kicking us off at women's strawweight, Stephanie Luciano versus Talita Alencar. Guys, hot take already. Coming at you with a hot take already. I think Alencar wins this matchup here. Luciano is the better striker by far. She's got all of the advantages in size, maybe even strength. Much taller, much rangier, much better striker. I think Alencar, though, in this matchup is a minute winner outright. In their first fight on the Contender Series, Alencar won the first two rounds, and Luciano 10-8'd her in the third and got the draw, got the majority draw, or unanimous draw. It was 20, I believe it was 28-28 across the board. So my thing with this fight is Luciano has not fought anybody since that fight on the Contender Series. And since then, Alencar has made her debut and won. And I think in her debut, I think she did look better on the feet, which I think is important here because I think she's already better than Luciano in the grappling outright. And I think any improvement she makes to her stand up will help her in this fight. And if she's already picking up two rounds basically unanimously, picking Luciano, I just feel like I don't know because we haven't seen her. I don't know if there's been improvements at all, but I think there has been for Alencar. I think if Alencar can win two rounds in their last fight and she has improved since then, I think she can repeat that and win minutes. I think she can get Luciano down like she did in their first fight and control her for the vast majority of those first two rounds at least. And I don't know if Luciano's going to 10-8 her on the feet again. I don't know. I'm going with Alencar as a plus 150. I think she'll win a decision here. I think she'll probably win a 29-28 decision here over Luciana. We will see, though. This is a sketchy fight, but I'm going with the underdog. Moving up to featherweight, Yusuf Zalal versus Jarno Aarons. This is a pretty good fight, guys. I'm picking Yusuf Zalal. I don't think he should be minus 400 here, though. I do think Yusuf Zalal overall is better than Jarno Aarons. Jarno Aarons did have a really good performance in his last fight against Stephen Gwynn, where he showed a lot of composure and a lot more technical striking ability than he has shown in his last couple of fights in the UFC. Yusuf Zalal, though, has been looking damn good. Finished Billy Quarantillo easy peasy. And I think clearly Yusuf Zalal, I think he can hang on the feet very easily with Jarno Aarons. And I think Yusuf Zalal also just has the grappling upside here outright. Jarno Aarons' takedown defense is okay, but I think Yusuf Zalal will probably be able to get him down. And once he gets him down, I think he is live for a submission against Jarno Aarons for sure. I think Yusuf Zalal's the side here. I think he can win a decision. I'm not sure if he can TKO Jarno. I think his best odds are getting a submission or winning a decision here. TKO is obviously possible, but I think it's more unlikely because Jarno Aarons is pretty defensively decent on the feet, I would say, a lot of the time. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Yusuf Zalal by submission. I think he'll be able to get Jarno Aarons down and submit him. Moving up to heavyweight, fellows. Fellows? Did I say fucking fellows? Fellas. Janata Deniz versus Carl Williams. Guys, this fight is spooky to me because Carl Williams is a minus 210. And Carl Williams has a very clear path to victory in this fight. My problem with Carl Williams is that he is one of these fucking guys who does not shoot a takedown until he gets like caught with something on the feet. He's one of these guys who likes to engage in the stand up and then he gets hit, he gets hurt, and he's like, okay, I guess I should wrestle now. I hate that. I hate people that do that. It drives me fucking crazy. He was doing it against Justin Tafa, and he would get clipped, and then he would shoot a takedown. It's like, dude, this is such a stupid game to play, especially with this guy. Janata Deniz is a murderer. He is a good striker. He has real power, and he is dangerous on the feet. So I'm picking Carl Williams. I am, because he has a very clear and easy path to victory. Get Janata Deniz on the ground, profit. Very simple stuff. My problem is, I'm just worried that he is going to stand on the feet with Janata Deniz for longer than he needs to and get obliterated. That's the problem that I'm having. Also, another thing I want to mention about this that also gives me some pause on, like, if I were betting on this, I don't trust Carl Williams, is what I'm saying. Carl Williams is also a lot smaller than Janata Deniz, weight wise, like almost 30 pounds. So I'm a little bit concerned with Carl Williams in this matchup. He should win. He has the skill set to win. Does he have the IQ to just go out there and shoot on this guy from the rip, though, is my problem. I don't know. I think Janata Deniz is a real live underdog here because his stand-up is very dangerous, technical striker, nasty hands, and he pressures people bad. And Carl Williams does not like that. But, oh my God, I'm almost talking myself into picking Janata Deniz here. I'm going to go with Carl Williams. I think he's going to win a decision, but it will not surprise me one fucking bit if he gets obliterated here. That's where I'm leaving that. Moving up to welterweight, Danny Barlow versus Nikolai Veretinikov. That is a hard one, fellas. I'm going with Danny Barlow. Nikolai is very dangerous, though. This guy is a real knockout guy, real power in his hands. I went back and watched some of his fights. Decent striker, but I think Danny Barlow is going to tee off on him. I think Danny Barlow is just too skilled. He's got a ton of reach, too. Giving Danny Barlow such a big reach advantage is dangerous. And on the back foot, Danny Barlow is very lethal. Going forward, Danny Barlow is very lethal, and his timing is what's going to separate him in this fight, in this stand-up fight, I think. I think he's going to be able to catch Nikolai in spots where Nikolai leaves himself exposed, kind of chasing that knockout, because that's kind of what Nikolai does. Very accurate striker, Nikolai. I just think Danny Barlow is a little bit too much too soon in your UFC debut. I think it's a tough out. I think this will be a fun fight, though, and I definitely think somebody's going to fucking sleep. But if you put a gun to my head, I think Danny Barlow outright is just the better striker. I think he's faster. I think he's got better timing. With that giant reach advantage, I think he can finish Nikolai Veretinikov in like round 2, I think. But this should be a banger. Moving up to women's bantamweight, Carol Rosa versus Penny Kianzad. Um, I'm going with Carol Rosa here. I don't think Penny Kianzad is all that good. I don't think Carol Rosa is crazy good either. Carol Rosa is coming off of a really good fight against, I believe it was Irene Aldana. Penny Kianzad, I believe, is coming off a loss. She just got submitted to by Macy Chasson. I think why I'm going with Carol Rosa in this fight is I think just outright, I think she's a bit more skilled everywhere. I think Carol Rosa is better in the stand-up than Penny Kianzad. And Penny Kianzad has a weakness to the submission, and I think Carol Rosa is just a better jiu-jitsu practitioner, and if it gets to that, I think she could take down Kianzad and submit her as well. I don't think she'll need to. I think on the feet, Carol Rosa is much scrappier, and I think she's a little bit more skilled on the feet. So yeah, I just think Carol Rosa here is the side. Kianzad's not terrible by any means, but I think this is Carol Rosa's fight to win, personally, and I think she will win. I think she'll probably get a decision win here. Over Penny Kianzad. I'm thinking probably like a 29-28. I think this will be a relatively close fight, but with Carol Rosa getting a little bit ahead on a couple of the rounds. Moving up to bantamweight, Toshiomi Kazama versus Charlampos Grigoriou. These guys are not guys that I trust very much at all. I'm going with Grigoriou, though, over Toshiomi Kazama, mainly just because Grigoriou's record isn't great, but I think in the first round or two, I think he has a lot more finishing upside than Toshiomi Kazama. Toshiomi Kazama, I don't rate as a guy with a very solid chin. He's kind of able to be just blown up and blitzed out of there in like the first couple of rounds. And that's mostly what Grigoriou is capable of, I think, here in this fight. I think the longer this fight goes, the worse it is for Grigoriou. You kind of saw that in the Chad and Helliger fight, where he just, as the fight got deeper, he really had nothing. for Chad and Henniger, but I think Chad and Henniger is a much, much harder matchup for him than Toshiomi Kazama. I feel like Toshiomi Kazama is the kind of guy that's going to give Gregorio the fight he wants, and get up in there early, and they're going to get after it. Uh, but I just think Gregorio will land the better shots. I think he'll land leg kicks. I think he'll land his straight punches. And I don't think Toshiomi Kazama will be able to sustain that damage early on. And I think he might get put out again. I also think Gregorio, if need be, could get a takedown. Uh, Kazama's not a terrible grappler either, but I would rate Gregorio more as a wrestler. I don't think either guy is great in the grappling, but I think Gregorio would have an advantage there. But yeah, I think Charalampos Gregorio is going to get a TKO in like the early round 1 or early round 2, somewhere around there. I think this is a good matchup for him, but we'll see though. Moving up to the main card, Yana Santos versus Chelsea Chandler. I'm going with another underdog here. I'm going with Chelsea Chandler over Yana Santos. I don't think Yana Santos is really all that. Yana Santos is coming off of 3 losses in a row, and she hasn't looked that great in any of them. Chelsea Chandler, I believe, is coming off of a pretty good win. I do believe. Yeah, Josephine Nunez. That's a good fucking win, dude. Because a lot of people were picking Nunez to beat her, me included. Um, and she looked good against a lady who's very dangerous, very real power, very bad striking, but she has power in her hands. Very dangerous matchup, and she was able to neutralize her pretty well. I don't think the threat of Yana Santos is as high as a Nunez for Chelsea Chandler. I think Chelsea Chandler will just be able to just play her game on the feet. And I think she'll be able to beat Yana Santos by decision. I don't really rate Yana Santos as that good of a fighter at this point. Um, and I believe the only person Chelsea Chandler's lost to in the UFC is Norma Dumont. And I think that is a infinitely harder matchup for Chelsea Chandler than Ayana Santos. I think Chelsea Chandler here can coast to a decision as a plus 120 dog. Bigger lady. I think she is a little bit better on the feet at times. I think she has more power as well. Uh, yeah, and I think she can get this fight to the ground if she wants to as well. Um, yeah, I'm going with Chelsea Chandler by decision here in this matchup against Yana Santos. Moving up to featherweight, Damon Jackson versus Chepe Mariscal. I'm going with Chepe Mariscal. I just don't like the way Damon Jackson strikes. I don't like the way he reacts to pressure. I don't like the way he takes a shot. He can be dangerous, Damon Jackson. He's also very good on the ground. I think Chepe Mariscal is just going to outdog him outright. You know, Chepe Mariscal is a real scrappy guy, and he likes getting into those gunfights. But even in those gunfights, he stays very technical on the feet. He's very fast. His defense is pretty tight. I think he's gonna find a finish over Damon Jackson in like rounds 2 or 3. I think he can TKO Damon Jackson for sure. I think the only real threat here for Chepe Mariscal is getting rolled up in a submission. I don't think Damon Jackson will be able to take him down though. We'll see. Damon Jackson's wrestling's been looking decent lately. I think though I think that Chepe Mariscal can stop the takedowns. I think he can stay defensively responsible if he gets put in a position where he might get submitted. And I think on the feet, he's just better outright. So yeah, I'm going with Chepe Mariscal. I think he'll get a TKO in like rounds 2 or 3 here against Damon Jackson. And moving up to the main event, Marcin Tybura versus Sergey Spivac. Now, I've seen a lot of discourse about this fight. I've seen everybody and their mother on Marcin Tybura. And he is a live dog in this fight. I'm not picking him though. I'm going with Sergey Spivak for a couple of reasons. Reason one, I know a lot of people like to really read into their first fight. That was I think in 2020 where Marcin Tybura won a pretty comfortable decision against Sergey Spivak. My thing is that is Sergey Spivak in his second fight in the promotion. He's fighting Marcin Tybura, a much younger version of Marcin Tybura. Right now Tybura is 38, and Sergey Spivak was basically an infant in the sport. He was only 25 years old. That's a year older than me. You know, he was a young dude in the sport. And another thing that I want to mention about that first fight is he was much lighter. Sergey Spivak at the start of his career was a guy who would come in weighing like 230, 230 something. Kind of like almost like an Alexander Volkov. Volkov used to come in weighing like 230, and then he put on about 30 pounds and he started destroying everybody. It's kind of a similar thing with Spivak, but just to a lesser extent. In this matchup now, I think Spivac is going to be the larger guy for sure. And I think that's going to impact how the grappling goes here. I think Spivac will be able to get a Tybura into kind of like those dirty clinch situations up against the cage, and I think in those scenarios, that's where Sergey Spivac can really win. He can get the trips because he's a guy. I broke this down when Sergey Spivak was fighting Cyril Gane, and this line was honestly similar to the Cyril Gane line, if I remember correctly. I think I don't remember if Spivak was the favorite, but I remember that line being close. And I said this. I said Spivak is a guy who does not shoot traditional takedowns. He goes for like trips and things like that. Trips and throws is more of Sergey Spivak's takedown style. And I said he would never get this on a Cyril Gane because Gane's movement is too fast and too dynamic. He can't clinch him to trip him. He cannot do it. He cannot press him up against the cage. Gane will circle out. Tybura can be pressed up against the cage. He can be clinched. He can be hip tossed. He can be tripped. So I think that plays better in the Sergey Spivak's wrestling. I also think on the feet that this fight is a lot closer than a lot of people would think. I honestly think I would give the edge in striking to Sergey Spivak a little bit. I know that sounds crazy, but I just think he's a little bit more composed on the feet a lot of the time. Granted, we haven't seen Spivak in a while, but I think he can win this fight. I think as the younger guy now by a lot, but a little bit more matured in his career. He's fought some big fights against some good guys. He's got that experience now. He's going to be the bigger guy for this matchup. And I think his style of wrestling has evolved a little bit over his last few fights. And I think it will be effective against Marcin Tybura in this matchup. Anything else I want to mention? Oh, another thing I want to mention. I completely slipped my mind here. I'm adding this on at the end. What the fuck? Chris Gutierrez is fighting a guy named Quang Lee. It's not here on ESPN. Honestly, I can just pull it up for you guys. Pop up to the shirt real quick. I'll pull this up as well. I wanted to remember to mention this. Chris Gutierrez is fighting a guy named Quang Lee. I'll break this down really quickly. Quang Lee, decent fighter, pretty technical, decent everywhere. I think Chris Gutierrez is just going to win. I think he's just going to chop the leg kicks. I just think it's a hard matchup for Quang Lee. Just outright. It's just a hard debut on this short of notice, too. Like, I believe this fight got announced today, like an hour ago. So he's got about 4 days to get ready for Chris Gutierrez. I just think that's a stylistically hard matchup, and it's a very tricky fight for him. I think Chris Gutierrez can win a decision over Quang Lee in this matchup. I wanted to mention that. I almost forgot it completely. But yeah, Chris Gutierrez will beat Quang Lee by decision, and I think Sergey Spivak, sorry about that tangent, I think Sergey Spivak here can finish Marcin Tybura via, honestly, I think he can finish him via ground and pound. I don't see this fight going very long. Like, I don't think we'll enter rounds 4 and 5 here. I think this fight will get finished in the first 3 for sure. And that gives Sergey Spivak the edge. We'll see, though. I doubted Marcin Tybura last time, mostly because I wanted Tai Tuivasa to win, I'll be real. And he showed me up then, but I think this version of Sergey Spivak can beat Old Man Tybura by TKO in like round 2. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I appreciate it so much. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.